can taste your words. I can taste your.
Welcome to the Easy Answer Podcast. I'm Brandy, plant-based chef.
And I'm Vonanise, plant-based adjacent.
On this podcast, we explore thought-provoking conversations around food
and simple ways to stay healthy in this crazy world.
Welcome to the Easy Answer Podcast. It's Chef Brandy here, and if you guys did not know, March is Women's History Month. It is the month where we celebrate the great things that women have done to society, that women continue to do to contribute to society, the lessons that we learned from them, and just their grace and finesse that they add to the world. Now, you guys both know Vaughn and I are two women who have started this podcast to help you find simple ways to stay healthy in a world that can sometimes seem very crazy. And we interview guests who are interested in sharing their knowledge and wisdom with you guys, our community, in order to do just that. So we wanted to make this a episode of the lessons that we've learned from the women who have graced the Easy Answer podcast. So sit back, relax, listen, and tag a woman who you believe would benefit from being a guest on our show or being a part of the conversation that we continue to have just to help us navigate this thing called life from a healthy and balanced place.
Yeah, and the ironic funny thing, they've been doing this since I want to say like the 2010, 2013. I remember reading, I'm a geek, if you guys haven't noticed, when it comes to like food and investigation. And so a lot of times I'll read a larger book, and at the end of the large books, they usually have all of the references. And so I end up literally going through all of those references to kind of see.
God, you really are a geek.
I like to consider the source. Like a person put their book together or their documentary together, and they pick the point of view, right? You have to figure out. But I like to see like how they got to their point of view. So I tend to like go into these rabbit holes. And so I ended up falling into this story about it was pretty much it was the beginning of Clunk Meat. And there was a lot of conversation about Clunk Meat. Would you eat Clunk Meat? Would you not eat Clunk Meat? And a lot of people were against the idea of eating Clunk Meat, right?
They said that in a documentary too.
Yeah.
People were like, no way. And it was like, went to Europe, they were like, you could pay me $1,000 and I'm still not eating it. You know?
Right, exactly.
So that's to meat.
Exactly. No one likes this idea. So early on, they caught wind that calling it Clunk Meat wasn't necessarily going to be a selling point. And on top of the fact that they were going to call it Clunk Meat, there was also a group of people who were lobbying to get it labeled as such. So even now, they still haven't gotten it. Still, you don't have to label it Clunk Meat, right? You don't have to label it that. So it could just be integrated into the meat.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Exactly. So that was crazy. So then they changed the name a little bit. I think it was called like cell-based meat, which is like the scientific name, which also
and in the documentary they went through the branding exercise.
Yeah.
Like, this is when capitalism goes too far.
Yes, but what's crazy is that they landed on something called clean meat. Now,
Please, you just took the blood out the heart of a baby cow. Like, really? Please.
It's called clean meat. And they also, what's interesting now, like maybe 2 years ago, I read something or saw some documentary or something where they were asking people, particularly people who classify themselves as vegan, would they be open to eat meat that came from the cells of an animal? And the majority of them said yes, because no animal died. And so that to me is nuts. In my opinion, I think that the fact that it's just like we're selling the fact that no animal had to die, but obviously they did in order to get that first culture. Somebody had to die to get that first culture, people.
Yes. And then,
Um,
so you have to think of it like they were like, and then it has to go in here, and it has to be like there has to be a host, and then we're trying to put the host on a deck on lettuce leaf.
so that they could.
Like,
Then
remember they talk about test tube babies. So you put the sperm in the egg, you make an embryo, you put it back in the mama, and now you have a baby, IVF, right?
Mhm.
But there's no host animal to put that back into.
Mhm.
So now they trying to mess up the plants and put it on plants. So now it's just like too much now. A lot of moms said that they feel like people judge them if they don't, make like
Yeah,
the organic baby food and all that. Have you felt some judgment?
I think my family did judge me when I said that I wasn't gonna do purees. Like, so the way I started solids with her was I did do a couple purees, um, because I was just confused about how to introduce meat or like some like mushrooms, like something that's tough to chew on when she didn't have teeth. Um, and when I started serving her like whole foods, they were very like, "What are you doing? Like, that's not baby food. Like, get like a Gerber thing or like make it yourself," and very judgmental about things like that. But after they saw that she was capable of like handling it, they kind of backed off and they didn't force it anymore. Um, I think it's a sensitive topic when it comes to like how a mother decides to feed her child, whether you're talking about breastfeeding or formula feeding, purees versus like baby led weaning, which is like the craze right now, organic versus non-organic. I think at the end of the day, whatever decision you feel comfortable with is what's best for you and your baby. I can't sit here and tell somebody that like baby led weaning is better than purees or like breast milk is better,
Yes.
whatever works for you and your kid is what's best, I guess. There are
Yes.
things that I might not agree with that I wouldn't do personally, but I don't want people to feel shamed if they do it.
Yeah.
Like I was saying when I saw the episode of Explained Dogs on Netflix, they said that, okay, so when you have a dog, it sets off the same hormone in your brain as having a child. That's why you're feeding him better than you're feeding yourself, because he's replacing the child in your life.
No, don't even get me started, because like when he enjoys one of these cool meals, like I just sit there and look at him like, oh, I feel so delighted. And I look at him and I say to him, I'm like, if I feel this way about you, I can't have no kids because I don't have much more love. I don't have no more love to give. You're thinking about, yeah.
Now, question:
You're right.
Are you cooking this food to order, or are you batch cooking these meals on a weekly basis?
Okay.
Tell us the real girl.
I come from a Black family, and I don't know if any of y'all's Black families are similar in that, like, we always overcook. Like, it could be for 2 people and you're going to cook for 13. It just be like that. You know, when it's time to make mac and cheese, you ain't making a little thing of mac and cheese. You're making a pan of mac and cheese, okay?
Yeah.
I don't care if it's 1 or 50. And so that's kind of how it is with him. So I accidentally meal prep him by overcooking. So if I get a fillet, let's say I got like a 6-ounce fillet of salmon, he's on a weight diet, like a healthy weight diet, because he
needs to lose weight.
He's been overweight. No, he's fine now, but he was overweight for a moment. And so we brought him back, and now I have to keep him. I'm sustaining him. And so for like 2 years, he's stayed at this weight. Part of that was because of the surgery that he had last year. So, but we have to keep him. So anyway, if I get a 6-ounce fillet of salmon, I'm not going to give him all 6. I'm going to give him 3 ounces because I'm supplementing that with the greens and the grains, like oatmeal. Like I'll make regular oatmeal and put a spoonful of that in there. If I make a cup of oatmeal and I'm only using a spoon for him, then I'll just put the rest in a dish and put it in the fridge and then feed off of that for, until that's gone, and supplement that with a little kibble as well, so you can chew on things. But carrots will help you chew on stuff too. He loves carrots. Oh, he loves carrots.
So you could actually come up with like dogs recipes and you can come up with your own, like, farmer's dog thing,
Listen, for the sake of this podcast, I do, and call me for rates. Joy, I mean, just Joy
What
on
traits are we referring to right now?
I'm selling recipes now. What you mean? I'm selling recipes now. I'm in the business of selling.
The conversation, the topic of this conversation, or the theme of today is just like respecting people's lifestyles around food, and everybody kind of shows up differently. Like, what are some things that, I guess, outside of the not taking the first bite as intended, what are some things that, I don't know, that bug you around people when it comes to just like food, and when you have a lifestyle choice that's different than theirs?
So what I've been trying to stop doing is like explain myself before I do something, because I think we have like so many social graces because of the things that we've had to do in life, depending on what your plight is and where you come from. So you have these sort of parameters that you operate in, just to make everybody's like cool and copacetic and PC. I've been trying to like just not apologize for the way I show up, because it's just my flavor, as one of my friends said. So sometimes it could be, a little hood if I'm on that. Sometimes it could be, I've definitely been called bougie, not necessarily by things that I've chosen, but by look or how I show up sometimes. But honestly, I just kind of be like, hi, this is me. This is what we doing. You want to try it? No, it's not. That's cool. What's for you? All right, that's great. So you do you, I do me. And we'll just be, different. I just been really trying to make an effort like lately to not necessarily have to explain it, but give people an experience that they won't forget. I can't say it work all the time, because some people just be like, yo, she just real whatever I am that day, and it just don't go well. But I think that the more we kind of show up who we are, we give them an opportunity to observe, to learn, and to enjoy. You know what I'm saying? And I think that works. I think that's just where I'm at with things now. But
I know. I feel the same way about Jerry too. It's
I
like,
love Jerry, but I was like, I didn't realize how much I actually ate it. I was like, oh my gosh,
yes.
everything. Like it's pretty wild to take stock of what you actually do versus what you think you do. And
Yeah,
I guess
because a lot of eating is like, yes, I agree with you, because a lot of times we eat and we don't even know, we're not even thinking,
Yeah.
we're just eating what's in front of us,
Yeah. Yeah. It's more intentional for sure. I have an entire week planned of my meals now on my fridge. And I like wake up so excited to make it. I'm like, what do I have? What do I have today? It's getting real nerdy, but it's fun.
That's cool. That's really cool. So in addition, so you're making all this food now, you're cooking and things like that. And as we can see, you're a photographer. So I think that if you could, especially as someone who makes food all the time and shares it, like some tips for like the best way to capture, because a lot of times you make a dish and it's in front of you and it looks one way, and then you take a picture of it and it doesn't look anything like it does like in front of you. Yeah, right. So like, how do you remedy that?
I'll tell you why. So the reason why is, first, your smartphone is a light sensitive device meant for natural light. So if you are trying to take a picture in the dark, it's gonna not turn out great. Secondly, it's a wide angle lens. And what that means is it's for like a landscape, not for an individual item in front of you. So the trick I have, if you're an iPhone, is go to portrait mode when you're shooting food, because it will give you this depth of field where it kind of blurs the background and it just makes it look more interesting. So what you're fighting against with your smartphone is the lens distortion and the natural light. Now, you can learn to use a ring light, use a light box, use artificial light, but I would just say start at mastering the light that you have around you, and food loves natural light. So if you don't have a window, go outside if you can. And just practice. Practice makes perfect. Photography is not a theory, it's an active thing. And the way you get better is by doing it. So get next to your window, play with your angles, and Another really important thing is so much of food is brown that you want to add color to it, whether that's the plate, a napkin, fruit. You can use food as props, whether it's like crumbs of the cake, that's a prop too. But just add in some color as much as you can so that it gets more vibrant and it has more distinction. It actually has more texture. But yeah, your natural light is your best friend for food.
Have you noticed that there's a better time to take pictures than, when's the best time to take a picture if I can pick a time,
Yeah, well, there's different qualities of light. So light has temperature. Now, what that means is that it reflects a different color. So your kitchen light is yellow, right? And then another light you have might look a little bit blue when you take a picture on something white. So that's why you want to use natural light. And natural light changes throughout the day, and it actually changes like by the minute. So what you want to do is start to familiarize yourself with light itself and how it changes. There's no bad time of day to take it. The bad time of day would be when it's no longer light, because then you're struggling to deal with the natural elements. So also, early morning vibe is bright and vibrant, and then afternoon, evening light is more soft and subdued. So it's just a different vibe. It depends on what you want.
Oh, okay. Look at you knowing stuff.
You want to do like, let's say like you just came back from the gym and you want to take a picture of your beautiful smoothie. That's a morning light situation. And if you want to like take a picture of your chicken and biscuits dinner, that's more of an evening vibe. So yeah. Unless you have chicken and biscuits for breakfast, which I'm not against. So
I was trying to do a TikTok and I couldn't even figure it out. I was just like, this situation is just a mess. Like, I just,
for sure.
Yes, I feel like the learning curve is like, messing with me, and it's making me feel like an old head.
Well, if you're doing the same thing and it's not changing, then there has to be a shift in something, whether it's the angle or the lighting. And if you just don't know what you don't know. So until you know, then you practice until you can actually get what you want.
So your selfies are probably real cute. You know all the good angles. You're like, boom, boom, boom.
The angles are not here because the lens distorts, right? So the angle is right in front of you. It's at your eye line. It also makes you more accessible and relatable. If you're in any kind of business or anything where you're inviting people in to pay you, you want to be relatable, right? You don't want to be far away or really over photoshopped or distant in any way. So just get to your eye level.
Kardashian, then you want to be that.
Yeah, no. I'm just not going to say anything more.
I like fabulous vibes sometimes,
You can totally be fabulous right in front of your eye line.
That's true. But then sometimes you see like my nose, like I feel like I can't get the right angle so that I look like the optimum of my cuteness. Like I can't get it all.
I have a homework assignment for you. I want you to put on your favorite song in the entire world that makes you get up and move, and then take a selfie at eye level and tell me how you like it.
Oh, so music, that's a tip. So music can affect your mood on the inside, and you will see it.
100%.
Does that also work for food?
Yeah, because I cook with music, and it like I bop around and like try to slow down when I'm cutting things so I don't cut myself. But like I groove when I'm cooking. I always have music on. Yeah.
Yeah. I've noticed that food tastes different when you're happy and you're cooking it.
Absolutely. Love. And I was like, my mom is making apple taste good because she puts so much love into food that just her energy cutting something as simple as an apple, it's like you feel like you've just been given a gift.
My mother would always say that you have to love you first before you expect anyone else to love you. So she's speaking about loving yourself. And if you don't have anyone, like, please, this hotness, 1 minute I got someone, next minute I don't. I ain't tripping because I got me. I love me. You
That's
know,
right.
Brandy loves herself. You know, you have to love yourself because I mean, the pandemic has taught us anything. It taught us that, you know, your own mental health is the most important thing.
That's right. And also, being celibate is very empowering at this time and every time in history. It gives you strength. You know, it really helps you to focus your energies. So, you know, you don't have to, people, women especially, or men, you know, it's really no need to get an anxiety attack because there's no Valentine. You know, you attract what you put out there. So if you put out desperation, then you'll get anyone come. Here, take this old bunch of roses. They dead. So here, you know, you want roses, you want a man, here. So you don't want to put out that kind of energy. You want to really put out a confident, loving myself energy so that you can get a quality mate, you know, husband
Definitely.
or wife or fiance. You know what I mean? You want to confidence selves. So
Definitely.
that's one thing I wanted to mention, that it's okay to be single.
But two, it's sort of like when you say that you're going to bring jobs into this neighborhood and your jobs are Whole Foods, but the rent is $2,000 for a studio, that's not a real conversation about bringing jobs into this neighborhood because Whole Foods is not going to pay me enough money as a stock person to be able to afford $2,000 a month rent.
But
Right?
But Whole Foods may be paying you more than the bodega or like the sneaker store, you know, down the street. So like, remember, like these people, there's still a business involved. And our last episode, like Ella talked about, like in America, it's all about the business, right? And for as much as we want to, I think that you can find a place where humanity and business meet. I think that a lot of times businesses come to the table and their goal is just the bottom line. So it's not necessarily their responsibility to pay them a rate that supports the neighborhood, like living
I
in
agree
the
with you. But
neighborhood.
stop saying that, oh, we're going to support the residents in this neighborhood. You need to give them an actual skill. Anybody who wants the skill so that they could afford to stay where they grew up.
Those are skills in the sense that, number one, if it's better than the opportunities that were there before, these are stepping stones, right? So everything is a stepping stone out. So a better opportunity than you had before. So one step up. And then some of these companies offer pretty decent healthcare and other advantages, right? That people can take care of. Like I have a friend who, for instance, works at Starbucks and she's like an upper middle class person. And I know that she got pretty amazing healthcare that allowed her to like have her baby, take time off, and allowed her to, you know, sort of pay her way through graduate school. So it's not like the answer, but it is a stepping stone. But the question is I'd like to actually know, are these jobs really being offered to people in the neighborhood first?
Like when horses are in races, they put blinders on them so that they can just run the race that's in front of them. And that in this world, people need to put blinders on and focus on what they want and just run your race the way that you want to run your race. And that always stuck with me, you know, one, because I'm always like, who else is a Pisces? Quincy Jones is a Pisces too. Did you see his documentary?
I did, and I love him.
Yes. And
yeah,
his was very cathartic too. Yes. Very cathartic.
Yeah, I like that. Well, horses are my favorite animal, but with the blinders, that whole concept. Just imagine if we all did that.
Yes.
And just our blinders on, and then
run your own race.
Yeah. As you see, you know, someone needs help, yeah, you stop and help others along the way, but you're still running your own. As we say, stay in your lane. Everyone has a lane. But the thing with social media, to me, in the era we're in now, everyone's looking at everyone else's lane and trying to mimic that instead of running in their own lane or creating their own lane. You know, everyone's trying to duplicate what they're seeing in some ways. You know, I think that's a problem. It takes away the creativity and just a lot of people figuring out what their purpose is because they're looking over here, looking to the left and the right.
Definitely.
Where a lot of times it's in front of you, or sometimes, you know, opportunities come that are great, but it's just not for you or the right timing. But because we're in this era where everything is moving fast and everyone's trying to get a bag and this and that, you jump out of your lane and jump over here to grab a bag Where, like you said, if you had your blinders on and you just stayed in your lane, there's a bigger bag down the stretch.
Yeah.
If you're just disciplined and patient enough to wait and go down the lane in your lane and win your race.